Hong's Lucky Bride. Chapter 21. Would you feel lonely? However, when she thought of the person upstairs, Zhu strengthened her confidence. She could not let Sen Shuang take care of a vegetable for the rest of her life. If she had known at the beginning, she would not have let Sen Shuang marry into the Zhang family. Although the Zhang family was many times better than the Lu family, it could not replace the Sen family. Zhang Hong was a vegetable who only knew how to lie in bed. As expected, with the support of the Zhang family, Lin Xicheng's methods became more aggressive. Within a week, he had obtained all the evidence of Lu Hongyang's transfer of assets. He even sent the evidence of Lu Hongyang's infidelity to the court. During the court session, when the Lu family saw the evidence and photos, they were caught off guard. They had done this very discreetly, and it was difficult for anyone to find out, unless there was someone behind Zhu. When they saw Lin Xicheng, Lu Hongyang had a bad feeling. He had hoped it was not what he thought. How could Zhu have a relationship with the Zhang family? After the incident, the Lu family applied for an adjournment and needed more time to come up with their defense. Although the Lu family did not admit the authenticity of the evidence, Lin Xicheng's evidence was undeniable. As expected, as soon as they left the court, Lu Hongyang ran over and pulled Zhu aside. "What do you mean? I know I've let you down, but why do you have those photos? Quickly, dismiss the divorce lawsuit. I can give you the house in the western part of the city." Zhu sneered. "Do you think you can compensate for what you've done with only a house? Dream on. I'll take back everything that belongs to me." "What's your relationship with the Zhang family?" Zhu smiled at Lu Hongyang's questions. She turned her head in disdain. Ji Chiha, who had rushed over, raised her hand to slap her. However, her slap did not connect with Zhu's face. Instead, it hit Sen Shuang's face. Zhu was shocked. She struggled free from Lu Hongyang and said sadly, Shuang, I'm sorry. Does it hurt? You actually slapped her." "I was trying to slap you. You're hooking up with the Zhang family before you even divorced. Great! Now that you have a backer, you want to harm the Lu family. Let me tell you, Mia is pregnant with the Lu family's child. Even if you don't want to get married, you have to get divorced. The Lu family will not acknowledge a daughter-in-law like you. You better be sensible and dismiss the lawsuit. Otherwise, I won't let you two bitches go." Ji Chiha said in a harsh voice. Zhu's eyes reddened as she stood frozen outside the courthouse. Her heart ached as she looked at her mother-in-law, whom she had served so well in the past. Sen Shuang covered the side of her face that had just been slapped and laughed coldly. "Mr. Lin, you recorded the evidence of the beating just now, right? We'll present it as evidence tomorrow. Does this court accept this as a threatening the plaintiff?" She did not retaliate because she wanted the Lu family to slip up one more time. "It counts. Don't worry, young madam. I have already explained the grievances you've suffered. The Zhang family will naturally exact revenge for you." Ji Chiha and Lu Hongyang were both stunned. Sen Shuang was the young madam of the Zhang family. No wonder Zhu was able to hire Lin Xicheng, the strongest lawyer in Lin City. Ji Chiha's expression changed. Seeing that they were about to get into the car, she hurriedly chased after them. "Don't go. Say it properly." "Mom, stop chasing them. Can't you see? Sen Shuang has a relationship with the Zhang family. With the Zhang family support, we won't be able to win this time." "Let's talk to Zhu." A peaceful divorce was the best they could hope for now. "How is that possible? Sen Shuang is the young madam of the Zhang family? Which young master of the Zhang family married her? The Zhang family was immensely powerful in Lin City. Old Master Zhang could shake the entire infrastructure of Lin City if he only stomped his foot. They had slapped the young lady of the Zhang family. This was a blatant act of disrespect to the elders of the Zhang family. It hurts. Be gentle. It hurts so much. I don't want it anymore. Sen Shuang's eyes were red as she tried to hide her face. She wanted to touch her wound, but Sen Zhu pulled her hands away. Don't move. What if it gets infected? Sen Shuang did not expect Ji Qiha to be so ruthless. Half of Sen Shuang's face was red and swollen. Sen Zhu felt sorry for her and could not help but blame herself. I'm useless. Does it still hurt? Sen Shuang purposely shouted so that Sen Zhu would not feel bad. She did not expect that she would blame herself. She shook her head forcefully. It doesn't hurt. If you're right, then I'm not in pain. She hit you so ruthlessly. How could it not hurt? I will definitely get rid of the Lu family and take you out of the Zhang family. Sen Shuang knew that she was not just saying this casually. Her heart ached for Sen Zhu's situation, and she hoped that she could break out of the cage she was in. Sis, don't worry about me. When our family stands up again naturally, those people won't bully me anymore. Moreover, now that the Zhang family is backing me up, they won't dare to do anything now. Seeing Sen Shuang's innocent expression, Sen Zhu could not help but look at the motionless man on the bed. I don't know if Zhang Hong will wake up. I can't watch you accompany this kind of person for the rest of your life. With the Zhang family's support, Sen Zhu's divorce was imminent. Chapter 22. The daughters of the Sen family are doing very well. Lan Yibai looked at the scars on Sen Shuang's face and was so angry that she did not even eat dinner. When night fell, Sen Shuang talked to Sen Zhu for a while, then brought a bowl of porridge to Lan Yibai. She only returned to her room after repeatedly assuring her that she was fine. Zhang Hong's bedroom, which was originally only black, white, and gray, and filled with a masculine scent, had long been changed by Sen Shuang. There were blue and white curtains, and there were more feminine items in the room. The carpet was also pink now, and there was a sweet smell in the air. The man on the bed was covered with a blue blanket. Sen Shuang was rolling an egg on her face where the wound was. She looked at Zhang Hong and sighed. My sister has been here for the past few days, so I have been accompanying you less at night. Do you feel very lonely? Did you miss me? My sister is such a good woman. Tell me, why would she marry a man like Lu Hongyang? Why do I have to marry an old man like you when I'm only 20 years old? Why are our lives so miserable? It's like I'm the beauty and you're the beast. Sen Shuang did not finish her sentence. My sister wants me to leave the Zhang family and divorce you. But we have nothing now. Your mother promised me the Sen's family's house would be mine. Tell me, how could I leave? I really hope that my sister can divorce Lu Hongyang as soon as possible and get some of his assets. The woman was talking to herself, and she was too busy venting her grievances to notice. The man's eyes twitched. If I divorce you, how much property will the Zhang family give me? They probably won't give me anything apart from the Sen family's house. I won't leave until I squeeze you dry. Sen Shuang punched Zhang Hong in anger. In the next second, the blanket shifted slightly. You are shameless. Sen Shuang withdrew her palm as if it had been scalded. She turned around, flushing, and pointed at Zhang Hong, who still looked unresponsive on the bed. Aren't you a vegetable? How did you do that? Sen Shuang felt her face turn red. As she thought of how she had just hit him, She was so scared that she put down her hand that was covering her face. Her palm was unharmed. However, Sen Shuang felt that her hand was genuinely hurt. She cried out as she ran into the bathroom. The sound of running water could be heard. After a long while, the woman finally came out. Her little face was still red as she looked at Zhang Hong, who was not moving on the bed. She leaned over, acting like a wife. Zhang Hong, even if you are a vegetable, you should still respect me, even if I touch you there. After Sen Shuang said that, she felt the man would not give her an answer. She carefully moved to the side of the bed and groped her way up from the other side. This time, she did not dare to be presumptuous. She just obediently let herself lean against the edge of the bed and hug the blanket tightly, not moving at all. The room was so quiet that only the sound of breathing could be heard. However, Sen Shuang was no longer sleepy because of what had happened just now. She secretly reached out her hand from under the blanket and could not help but take a look under the bedside lamp. Zhang Hong, we are husband and wife, right? This kind of husband and wife thing is very normal. I am already an adult. I shouldn't be so flustered, right? After consoling herself, Sen Shuang turned around and looked at the man beside her. Under the muted light, the man's silhouette was unusually perfect. Even his thin lips had a hint of sexiness. Tell me, why would I have feelings for a vegetable? You clearly don't know anything. I was just thinking too much. In fact, when she changed his clothes every morning, she caught a vague glimpses of his body. But today, she suddenly bumped into him there. She was probably just shocked. Sen Shuang felt that she was reacting this way because she was still young. However, she and Zhang Hong had lived together for 10 years. She would not be afraid of such things anymore. Zhang Hong, do you think we will get a divorce? Sen Shuang looked at the man and whispered. She could not help touching his cheek gently. She also touched the edges of his brows. She thought of the kiss she had put on his lips a few days ago. It was not as gentle as she imagined, but it was clean and slightly hard. She remembered their first kiss very clearly. The scent of him lingered in the air. When she approached him, she realized that he did not smell like someone who had been sick for a long time. Instead, he smelled like he had just showered. He smelled like her. After being together for so long, their scents have become similar. Sen Shuang could not help but snicker. She was secretly delighted. We will definitely not get a divorce. I will take care of you for the rest of your life. Zhang Hong was very good. She could rely on him for anything. No one could take him away, and he could not cheat on her or run away. Yes, it's not enough. The reason the Liu family is where they are now is because of the Sen family's self-destruction. The Sen family has gone bankrupt. Do you think that I would be so easy to get rid of it? If the Sen family had not used a self-destructive method to help the Liu family back then, how could the Sen family, which had existed for 100 years in Lin City, be destroyed immediately after her father's accident? Sen Zhu hated those people who added insult to injury, but she hated herself even more. She was the one who had harmed the Sen family. Did the Sen family raise their daughter to be like this? The Sen family raised their daughters very well. Chapter 23. Sen Shuang will be my woman sooner or later. But it looks like Madame Ji did not raise her son well. Otherwise, how could she let her son cheat on his wife and let another woman have an illegitimate child? Sen Shuang, who was sitting not far away, was watching as the negotiation began to fail. Sen Zhu was sitting opposite the domineering Ji Chiha. Sen Chuang could not help but sneer. You want to send my sister away with just 2 properties in the desolate countryside? Madam, you must think that you can push my sister and me around because our family has fallen. You're sprouting nonsense. You 2 bitches have no dignity. Ji Chiha looked at Sen Chuang and was so angry that her hands were trembling. She raised her arms and wanted to slap her. However, this time, Sen Chuang would not let her. She pulled Zenzou with her and they dodged the slap. The slap landed on the wall, causing Ji Chiha to suck in a breath of cold air in pain. Since you don't want to resolve this peacefully, Madam Ji, we can only meet in court. Don't worry. We will definitely continue this fight. Oh, right. It's fine if you don't want to return the transferred assets. The Zhang family doesn't mind helping you out. At the mention of the Zhang family, heads snapped up in interest. Everyone in Lin City knew who they were. Moreover, the Lu family could not hold a candle to the Zhang family. If the Zhang family wanted to stand up for Zenzou, crushing the Lu family would be like crushing a bug. When Ji Chiha heard Sen Chuang's words, her face instantly turned pale. Sen Chuang did not need to say that the Zhang family had already begun to make a move against the Lu family. Otherwise, why would she come over with the divorce agreement today? To put it bluntly, she was just angry that Zenzou had gotten into her head. How had the wretched girl, Sen Chuang, latched onto the Zhang family so that she could threaten her this way? After leaving the coffee shop, Zenzou said worriedly, Did the Zhang family really make a move on the Lu family? Aren't we troubling them too much? Don't worry, the Zhang family knows their limits. Mom also wants to help us end things with the Lu family as soon as possible. Don't worry, it's just to scare them. Don't let them make things difficult for you, Sen Chuang said with a smile on her face. When she thought about how well the Zhang family treated her, she could not help but smile. I know that your mother-in-law helped me for your sake, but I don't want us to owe the Zhang family too much. She just didn't want Sen Chuang to get too involved with the Zhang family, and she also did not want Sen Chuang to feel that she owed the Zhang family. She was afraid that once some time had passed when Sen Chuang wanted to leave Zhang Hong, the Zhang family would not let her go so easily. She had risked her life by marrying into the small Lu family, and it was not easy for her to get a divorce. Sen Chuang had married into the Zhang family, who had the most power and influence in Lin City. Zenzou could not help but hold Sen Chuang's hand worriedly as she thought about this. She hoped that all of this would end as soon as possible. As Zenzou wished, everything would end the next day. The Lu family could not withstand the Zhang family's actions. Very quickly, the 2 of them discussed the divorce and happily signed a divorce agreement. In the Zhang residence, Sen Chuang rested her head on Zhang Hong's stomach in the room and read it to him with great interest. Her clear voice took up the entire room. After she finished reading 1 chapter, Sen Chuang sized up Zhang Hong, who was still on the bed, and secretly kissed his lips. She was more used to it now, and not as embarrassed as she had been during their first kiss. If I kiss you, you will be mine from now on. She imitated the tone of President Ba and the female protagonist in the novel she was reading, and could not help but look annoyed after she finished speaking. Ew, what kind of words are those? Why are they so mushy? Zhang Hong, you have to give my sister your blessing so she can leave the hellish Lu family. Zenzou has always been so looking forward to it back then. But now that she had left the Lu family, she was covered in injuries. Did a marriage really torture women in this way? Sen Chuang looked at Zhang Hong, who could not possibly open his eyes on the bed. Bo Yan had said that he might wake up, but Zhang Hong did not know about their marriage. If he really woke up one day, would she still be married to him? Zhang Hong, will we always be like this? Sounds came from downstairs. Sen Shuang thought that Zhenzu had returned, so she put on her slippers and ran out. Zhang Tinghao watched as Sen Shuang ran down the stairs wearing a nightgown. Instantly, his blood boiled, and he could not stop his wandering gaze. On the landing, Sen Shuang stood stunned as she saw Zhang Tinghao with another man standing in the door frame. Their gazes met, and her entire body felt cold suddenly, like someone had poured an entire bucket of cold water on her. Before the people downstairs could say anything, she turned and ran back to her room. Zhang Tinghao's eyes followed the enchanting figure and was filled with infatuation. He could not help but say, if I could sleep with her for one night, I wouldn't mind dying the next day. Yang Jinyan, who was beside him, frowned. A trace of disgust flashed in his eyes, but when he looked at Zhang Tinghao, his eyes were clear. Brother Zhang, be careful what you say. Yang Jinyan's voice brought Zhang Tinghao back to his senses. What are you afraid of? She will be my woman sooner or later. The incident that had caused Zhang Hong to be injured happened half a year ago. The Zhang family had announced to the public that he had gone abroad to further his studies. However, it was impossible to hide what had happened in this circle. Chapter 24. This was not considered immoral. Zhang Hong was seriously injured in the car accident and became a vegetable because of it. Everyone in Lin City knew that Zhang Hong was only half alive. He did not expect Sen Shuang to marry into the Zhang family. When he thought of that wretched man, he was actually glad that Sen Shuang married Zhang Hong, because this way, he and Sen Shuang would have a chance. In the bedroom, Sen Shuang sat on the bed and looked at Zhang Hong, who was only sleeping peacefully. He's here. Why is he here? Do you think he's here to look for me? He seemed to have seen me just now. Should I go talk to him? But your cousin is there too. I didn't tell him I married into the Zhang family. He was so worried about me earlier, but I didn't tell him about this. He'll definitely be angry with me. Actually, she did reply to Yang Jinyan's message, but her final message conveyed that she meant to sever ties with him. She just did not expect that he would actually find the Zhang family and learn that she was married to Zhang Hong. What would Yang Jinyan think? He probably already thought of her as a scheming woman. Sen Shuang paced around the room uneasily, completely forgetting about that the person lying on the bed was her husband. Just as she was hesitating about heading downstairs, there was a knock on the door. Sen Shuang subconsciously thought of the person outside the door. It must be Yan Jinyan. How could he come here to look for her? She opened the door nervously and saw Zhang Tinghao's face. She subconsciously wanted to close the door. Zhang Tinghao extended his arm to block her. As he sized her up, finally, his gaze landed on that small face. Sister-in-law, this isn't polite. Sen Shuang endured the disgust she felt. What's the matter? Zhang Tinghao revealed a malicious smile. However, he had learned his lesson after the last incident, and he was now wary of Sen Shuang. It's nothing. I just want to talk to you, sister-in-law. I have nothing to say to you. Sen Shuang made her expression warm and smiled at her. Have you recovered from that concussion? I've recovered a long time ago. Zhang Tinghao did not hear anything strange and had a coquettish smile on his face. The next second, Sen Shuang said fiercely, Last time, I was merciful. This time, I will definitely make you suffer. You refuse to call a truce and insist on doing things the hard way. He had heard the sarcasm in her words and felt that she was about to pounce on him. Sun Shuang turned around and nimbly pressed on the pressure points in Zhang Tinghao's arm. Looking at the sour expression on the man's face, she said, "Even though Zhang Hong is just lying in bed, he is much more pleasing to the eye than you are." "Why are you doing this? Zhang Hong is a vegetable. You have been wronged by him. If I head the Zhang family and you stay by my side, I will not mistreat you." Zhang Tinghao saw that he could not beat her, so he could only give in. San Shuang swallowed her disgust and smiled mockingly. "Even if Zhang Hong stays in bed forever, you still could not compare to a single finger of his. Don't be ignorant. The Zhang family only has one grandson now. Even if the old master is old and muddle-headed, he wouldn't give the Zhang family to an outsider. Unless... Can you still have a child with that piece of trash?" Hearing such shameless words, Sun Shuang only felt disgusted. She used her hand to exert some force and heard a soft crack. Zhang Tinghao's arm was already broken, although he did not feel any pain. He looked at his own arm that was hanging in the air in horror. It looked like it was being held in place by a wooden stick. He could not feel anything at all. "Zhang Tinghao, don't be afraid. I only broke one of your arms. Just ask someone to help you lift it. Even if you suffer a little when you lift it up, it won't be so painful that you'll want to die. If you provoke me again after this, I won't be twisting that part of your body again." Sun Shuang looked at Zhang Tinghao's neck while she spoke. Zhang Tinghao was so scared that he took a few steps back. His back was cold. When he saw Sun Shuang smile, he ran out and ran across the courtyard with a terrified expression. This woman was the devil. The moment Sun Shuang closed the door, her eyes immediately turned red. She was afraid of how Zhang Tinghao looked at her. She was also afraid of the disgust and fear he made her feel. She was afraid that she would encounter more gazes like this in the future. Sun Shuang looked at Zhang Hong, who was lying in the bed. She rebuked him, saying, "It's all because you that they dare to bully me like this. Why did you become a vegetable? Zhang Hong, you scoundrel!" Only by facing the person on the bed could she lower all her pretenses and reveal her weaknesses. Sun Shuang wiped the tears from her face and wrapped herself tightly in a blanket. "Without the Sun family, those people will laugh at me. They will laugh even more because I married into the Zhang family. Zhang Hong, what should I do? Who can help me?" She hugged Zhang Hong's arm and comforted herself. "But I broke his arm. He's at a disadvantage. Your cousin brought Yang Jinyan here. It seems like they were discussing a collaboration." After venting enough, she felt much better. However, the name Yang Jinyan was mentioned. Sun Shuang could not help but touch her face. "Why is it so hot? Was she still angry with that bastard, Zhang Tinghao?" Sun Shuang looked at Zhang Hong and said softly, "I met him just now." Although their eyes only met, they didn't say anything. "I've already married you. This doesn't count as letting you down, right?" Sun Shuang's face was still held the grievances that were weighing on her. The person in bed did not react. She leaned her head on Zhang Hong's chest. "He's only here to see me. I'm not technically being unfaithful." Chapter 25. "Zhang Hong, you can't be so stingy, right?" Zhang Hong's fingertips moved slightly under the blanket. Sun Shuang completely ignored the hand under the blanket and continued to speak with her red face. "Although we dated in the past, it wasn't for long. I am now a married woman. You wouldn't be so stingy about us meeting again, right? I've told you about myself and the Yang Jinyan, which means that I'm very honest. Besides, we've held hands before. You can't be mad at me. Under the night sky, the Zhang family's house lights shone under the window. Lan Yabai had just returned when she saw Zhang Tinghao coming out from the eastern garden. His face was filled with a vicious malevolence, and one of his arms was hanging limply in front of him. Horrid woman! When I inherit the Zhang family, I'll definitely kill you. Zhang Tinghao turned and saw Lan Yabai. He froze on the spot. Aunt! Young Master Zhang is so capable. So who do you want to kill? She ignored Zhang Tinghao's flattery, and her gentle eyebrows were raised. Yes, those servants were insensible and hurt my arm. They don't know how to apologize. Aunt, you should keep your eyes peeled when it comes to them. I remember that the old master said he wouldn't let you return to the old residence for no reason. I'm afraid you have a bad memory. Although Lan Yabai was born into an educated family, the Lan family had been producing government officials and individuals talented in fields like science and technology for many years. Even the Zhang family in Lin City could not top that. Zhang Tinghao should not dare to provoke her. He should hurry up and curry favor with her instead. I came to deliver a banquet invitation to you. I'll leave now. Lan Yabai looked at his departing figure and felt a chill in her chest. If it were not for Zhang Hong's current state, she would not have tolerated a person like Zhang Tinghao. Sen Chuang had been crying in her room for a while. Then she heard a knock on the door. She quickly wiped her tears and opened the door. Mom! Lan Yabai saw Sen Chuang's expression and asked nervously, Zhang Tinghao came just now? Yes. Did he treat you? Lan Yabai looked at Sen Chuang nervously. She shook her head and said softly, I broke his arm. Lan Yabai said nonchalantly, So what? If Zhang Hong was awake now, no one would say anything, even if you crippled him. She looked at Zhang Hong, who was still lying in bed. He hasn't woken up yet. Has Boyan come? He comes every day, but it's still the same. It's hard to say when he'll wake up. Sen Chuang had mixed feelings. Although she liked the Zhang family now, she did not know if she could continue staying in the Zhang family after Zhang Hong woke up. What if he did not like her? What if he hated her? Lan Yabai sighed. She had harbored too much hope in the past 6 months. It was the same every time. She was already used to it. Zhang Hong can probably hear the conversations going on around him. If you have time, talk to him more. Also, if you're not busy with school for the next 2 days, you can go and take a look at this banquet for me. Lan Yabai took out an invitation card. It was a charity banquet. Sen Chuang glanced at it. You want me to go? There should be some items for sale. You can also bring some things over. It's always a good thing. If you like something, you can buy it, Lan Yabai said and gave Sen Chuang a card. Mom, I don't need these things. Lan Yabai was too good for her. She would become dependent on the Zhang family and would be reluctant to leave when the time came. If I tell you to take it, then take it. If you see something you like, then buy it from me. I haven't received a gift from my daughter-in-law before. Sen Chuang knew that Lan Yabai was not actually chastising her. She just did not want to be too tied up in the Zhang family. However, they really gave her so much freedom that she felt warm inside. Thank you, Mom. Go and have fun. There's no need to rush home. Lan Yabai wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, she looked at Sen Chuang and said seriously, If you don't want to be tied up in the Zhang family, just tell me. If Zhang Tinghao makes things difficult for you, tell me. Don't hold back. Besides, even if the Zhang family no longer has Zhang Hong, I won't let you suffer. Sun Shuang thought about how her niece was so gentle when she was alive. Now that she saw how Lan Yabai treated her, she felt aggrieved. She held her tears and nodded stiffly. After Lan Yabai left, Sun Shuang curled up on bed and cut Zheng Hong's nails. Your mother is so good to me. Do you think she's doing this for me or for you? I think she's doing this for you. She must be afraid that I'll abandon you or divorce you because you're a vegetable. Maybe your mother treats me like the daughter she doesn't have? No, I remember you have a younger sister, right? Then she must be taking care of me because of you. Today, I broke your cousin's arm. Do you think he'll exact revenge? It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid of him exacting revenge. Besides, he can't do anything to me. When I leave, I'll hit him without mercy. Zheng Hong, will you wake up? If you don't wake up, your mother and I will really keep getting bullied. Sun Shuang could not help but sigh. The back of her hand felt warm, and she realized that it was caught under a big palm. Chapter 26. Send me back to the Zhang family. Sun Shuang raised her head and stared at the huge hand that was holding hers. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Zheng Hong, did you hold my hand? It's really you. His huge hand was actually gripping hers. Sun Shuang held his hand tightly and felt a slight twinge of pain. She reacted and quickly jumped off the bed, wanting to pull Zheng Hong along. She craned her neck excitedly towards the door. Mom, hurry and come to Zheng Hong's room. He moved. After the buoyant examination, her face was filled with joy. Zheng Hong's brain had a reaction. He should wake up soon. This information was more important to Lan Yabai than anything else. Sun Shuang looked at Zheng Hong, who was still lying in bed. Soon they would meet. Lan Yabai was so happy that Zheng Hong was doing well. Sun Shuang sat by the bed every day to vent her dissatisfaction. She treated him like a trash can for her negative feelings. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of the charity banquet. Sun Shuang was representing Lan Yabai for the first time. Therefore, she dressed very meticulously. Squatting by the bed, Sun Shuang cupped her delicate little face and bent down to kiss Zheng Hong's forehead. She allowed the lipstick to leave a lipstick mark on his head. Zheng Hong, I'm leaving. As the door closed in the quiet room, the eyelashes of the man lying on the bed trembled. The charity banquet was held in a large villa on the outskirts of Lin City. The entire villa seemed like a setting for a Western-style romance. There were countless people standing by the open-air swimming pool outside the courtyard. Sun Shuang appeared to arrive at the banquet wearing an evening gown. The hem of her dress was light purple. She wore a pair of crystal high heels and looked extremely tempting. Zhang Tinghao, who was not far away, felt a jolt go through him, followed by a wave of comfort. Sun Shuang's appearance made all the women in the banquet pale in comparison. It was as if there was only one bright and beautiful figure clad in light purple. Zhang Tinghao came over with a wine glass. He chased away all the men surrounding Sun Shuang, and his gaze fell unscrupulously on Sun Shuang. This is not the Zhang family's house, and he did not have to be afraid of old Master Zhang and Lan Yabai. However, when he thought of Sun Shuang's martial arts skills, his heart skipped a beat. He did not dare to agitate her anymore. He handed her a glass of red wine and said seriously, There will be a charity auction in a while. Follow me and don't wander around. Sun Shuang did not expect that the person whom Lan Yabai said would receive her was Zhang Tinghao. Seeing the fear on his face, she realized that he had probably learned his lesson already, after the last 2 times. In a place like this, no matter how arrogant Zhang Tinghao was, he should at least care about the Zhang family's reputation and not go overboard. Sun Shuang hesitated for a moment. Then she frowned and took the wine glass from him. However, she avoided Zhang Tinghao's arm and walked forward alone. Shenhuang, what are you doing? So many people are deliberately not showing me respect. Zhang Tinghao was very concerned that Shenhuang did not want to hold his arm. Shenhuang chatted with a few people who were walking towards her before turning around. How much pride do you have? Zhang Tinghao was offended. Do you want the Zhang family and ought to be embarrassed in a place like this? She has handed the business over to you. There will be no shortage of social gatherings like this in the future. Shenhuang stopped in her tracks and looked back with a smile. You know, you have to pay attention to how you act in a place like this. People know that I'm your sister-in-law and that I'm younger than you. Zhang Hong is currently unable to recover from his illness. Men and women are different, and there are certain boundaries between us. It is better for us to maintain a distance. Zhang Tinghao's soul was sucked in by Shenhuang's gaze. When he saw the figure clad in light purple start to walk away, he gritted his teeth unwillingly. You wretched girl. You'll know what a difference between a man and a woman is in a moment. Tonight, he had to get his hands on this woman. Shenhuang walked around the venue, and her wine glass had been refilled several times now. In the past, she did not need to socialize like this. Now that the Zhang family had given her the opportunity, she should learn about these boring social interactions and revitalize the Sen family. She would only have to socialize more in the future. Shenhuang, who had a low tolerance for alcohol, felt uncomfortable. She walked to a quiet corner, feeling tired. She felt like she was walking on clouds. Her feet just would not go where she wanted them to. She did not expect the effects of the alcohol to be so strong. Her body fell to the side, and a pair of large hands embraced her and pulled her in for a hug. This strange feeling made Shenhuang raise her head. When she saw Zhang Tinghao's malicious smile, she thought to herself, not good. I've been following you for so long. The medicine should be working now. This bastard, Zhang Tinghao, actually dared? Shenhuang could not believe it. Zhang Tinghao completely disregarded the Zhang family's reputation, even in an event like this. Zhang Tinghao had been planning this for a long time. He held Shenhuang's hands and held her waist tightly, pressing her into his embrace. He sighed internally, and his thoughts were actually somewhat uncontrollably buoyant. This woman was indeed deadly. Just casually approaching her made his heart beat uncontrollably. The light in his eyes became more and more unbridled. He wanted nothing more than to take this woman in his arms right now. For everything I spent is worth it. Tonight, I'll let you know how much better I am than Zhang Hong. Chapter 27. I want to rest. Don't waste your time. You can't even stand still now. Even if you wanted to hit me, I would have to hold still for a while. In order to prevent Shenhuang from making a move, he had studied her many times. Shenhuang had won the National Children's Martial Arts Championship. Before this, he did not know that this weak little sister-in-law was actually a martial arts expert. Zhang Tinghao's eyes shone brightly, ignoring Shenhuang's struggle. He carried her to a dark corner that was empty of people. There was a small door there, and it led directly to the restroom upstairs. He had already checked it out when he came. This time, he had to get Shenhuang. Thinking of this, Zhang Tinghao's heart went crazy. Outside the pool, music was playing. No one noticed what was happening inside. Shenhuang saw that she was being dragged further and further away. She could only bite her tongue. The taste of blood filled her mouth. The pain made her sober up a little, and she took the opportunity to press on the acupuncture point on Zhang Tinghao's arm. Immediately, the man howled in pain. Let me tell you, even if I can't stand up, I won't need much strength to break one of your arms. This time, she pressed down without holding back at all. The pain in his arm made him let go, and Shenhuang's legs went limp. She stumbled and crashed into a sturdy chest behind her. A man's strong forearm wrapped around her waist. That familiar smell made Sun Shuang's heart sink. She raised her head and looked at the man in front of her. Her eyes were red and she could not make a sound. Yang Jinyan was actually seeing her in such a pitiful state. Sun Shuang bit her lower lip harder. The metallic taste in her mouth made her feel so wronged in that moment that she wanted to cry. Young Master Yang, don't misunderstand. I saw that my sister-in-law drank too much and wanted to send her home. After realizing who was standing before him, Zhang Tinghao's courage grew again. The sweat on his forehead made it clear that his arm did hurt. Now that things had come to this tonight, he had to get this woman. Sun Shuang said rationally, "I have to trouble you to send me back to the Zhang family's house." It was not safe for her to leave looking like this. Only Lan Yabai and old Master Zhang could protect her. This is something that Tang Hao understood as well. Naturally, he would not let her leave so easily. Yang Jinyan's brows furrowed as his gaze darkened. He picked Sun Shuang up. When Zhang Tinghao tried to stop him, he raised his leg slightly and kicked his knee. Immediately, a muffled groan came from behind them. Zhang Tinghao hugged his legs and rolled into the flowers. Breaking his arm had not been enough. Far away from the villa, Sun Shuang was sweating profusely in Yang Jinyan's arm. "Send me back to the Zhang family." Zhang Jinyan held into Sun Shuang's arms tightly and looked at her small face. His black eyes held a dangerous glint, like that of a cheetah. He regretted it. He should not have broken Zhang Tinghao's leg just now. For someone like him, even beating him to death was not enough. In just an instant, Yang Jinyan quickened his pace and carried Sun Shuang into the car. The bustling streets were full of people, and the bright neon lights could be seen through the car window. The colors of the city were vivid. Cars sped down the streets in a blur, and pedestrians stood on both sides of the street. Sun Shuang looked out the window in a daze, gazing at the familiar yet unfamiliar streets. She had grown up in Lin City. She should know everything about this place like the back of her hand. However, after the Sun family went bankrupt, she finally understood how terrifying a city could be. It was ruthless. The Sun family was destroyed, and because of that, the city felt meaningless to her. "Can you drive faster?" Sun Shuang frowned. Her eyelids were heavy, and that made her eyelashes cast shadows on her face. Beside her, Yang Jinyan's words were filled with suppressed anger. "This is the reason why you avoided me. You married into the Zhang family. That's why you rejected me." She clearly did not need to do this. She could have gone to look for him. If she called him, he would have rushed to her side. However, Sun Shuang had not. She chose the stupidest path. Sun Shuang tugged at her skirt and pressed the tip of her tongue against her teeth. She had to stay awake. Once she recovered, that bastard Zhang Tinghao would suffer worse consequences than a broken arm. No matter how miserable she would not let such a disgusting person treat her that way. Listening to Yang Jinyan's questioning, Sun Shuang said, "I don't want to talk about this now." "Don't go back there. Come home with me. The Zhang family doesn't suit me, but the Yang family does. I'm the young madam of the Zhang family now. I am Zhang Heng's wife. Please send me back to the Zhang house." Sun Shuang's face and eyes were terrifying, because she had bit the tip of her tongue too hard. Every word she said was very slow. Her voice trembled at every word. However, in the quiet car it was clear as a bell. Sun Shuang pursed her lips together, and a trace of blood seeped out. Under the dim light, she looked like a terrifying monster. Every word she said was resolute. Even though Sun Shuang was in such a sorry state, she was still the second daughter of the Sun family. She was the #1 Soliciate in Lin City. Yang Jinyan sighed. What kind of magic does the Zhang family have? I can give you everything the Zhang family can. Why would you marry him?" Chapter 28. I won't let you get hurt in the future. He knew that when the Sen family was in trouble, he had not been there to help. However, Sen Shuang was not in a position to marry. Even if she was, why did she choose Zhang Hong? Why did she choose Zhang Hong, who was unable to get out of bed? You're the one who's suffering. She was a rich young lady, and she married someone like Zhang Hong. Even an ordinary woman would not be able to stand it, let alone Sen Shuang. Sen Shuang leaned her head against the car window. She no longer had the strength to continue arguing with him. Zhang Hong is great. He will wake up very soon. Marrying to the Zhang family was my choice. I'm not being mistreated. Yang Jinyan, if you still care for me at all, send me back to the Zhang family's house. What if I want to take you away? Then I can only sever all ties with you. The black Maybach stopped at the Zhang family's front door. Sen Shuang instantly pushed open the car door and quickly ran in. The man sat in the car and watched the figure disappear before his eyes. A complicated look flashed across his eyes. He had thought that tonight would be the beginning of their relationship. He had not expected Zhang Tinghao to cut in. Yan Jinyan's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He still felt indignant as he thought about breaking Zhang Tinghao's leg earlier. He started the car, turned the car around, and headed back to the party. Sen Shuang staggered back to her room. The door closed with a bang. Lan Yabai knocked on the door worriedly. What's wrong, Shuang Shuang? Are you okay? Mom, I'm fine. I drank too much. I want to rest. A retching sound came from behind the door. Lan Yabai heaved a sigh of relief. I'll get someone to make some soup before you sleep. She was too impatient. Sen Shuang was only 20 years old, and the Sen family had just gone bankrupt. She should not have let Sen Shuang take over the Zhang family's business affairs so quickly. She was still young and did not know how to socialize. As Lan Yabai thought about it, she heard a commotion coming from behind the door. She could not help but knock on the door again. Are you okay, Shuang Shuang? Are you feeling sick? Mom, I'm fine. Sen Shuang's voice betrayed a hint of exhaustion. You should rest well for a while. I'll get someone to bring you a bowl of soup. It'll make you feel better. There was no answer. Lan Yabai did not mind. Instead, she went downstairs and instructed his kitchen staff to make a bowl of soup to help her sober up. Sen Shuang leaned against the wall of the bathroom and allowed the cold water to drench her face. She did not know if she was crying or not. Even if she was, the water was washing away her tears. After some time, she dragged herself out of the bathroom. The room was still quiet. The nightlight beside the bed illuminated the quiet Zhang Hong, who was lying in bed. The man's facial features were even more dazzling under the muted light. The orange light washed over his pale face and revealed a hint of vitality. There was an additional tray on the table. There was a hot soup and a cup of milk on it. Sen Shuang's gaze fell on Zhang Hong as she was drawn to him. Her eyes were misty, like tears could start falling at any moment. She did not know how long she had been drenched in cold water. She only knew that the hot water seemed to do nothing for her. After a long while, she approached the bed slowly. The soft light made shadows appear on the wall. The air conditioner in the room blew cold air. The room began to look warm and seductive. Sen Shuang held Zhang Hong's big hand. His fingers were slender and defined and very masculine. His hands were extremely beautiful. Just these hands alone made many women swoon. Sen Shuang leaned her forehead on his arm. She held tight to Zhang Hong's palm as she cried out in sadness. Zhang Hong, I feel terrible. She felt terrible both physically and mentally. After the Sun family went bankrupt, many people said such terrible things. Anyone could bully her and plot against her. She lowered the temperature of the air conditioner and wrapped a blanket around Zhang Hong's body. She was curled up on the other side of the bed without any blanket. The demons in her body were torturing her. She went to the bathroom several times throughout the night and used cold water to wash her face. Zhang Hong's palm was already covered in a layer of bruises. When it was close to dawn, Shen Shuang finally felt that she had cried enough. She curled into a ball and hugged her legs as she fell asleep. Maybe it was because the side effects of the medicine, or maybe it was the desire in her heart. But when Shen Shuang fell asleep, she felt warm arms embrace her. There was something familiar about this. Her eyelashes, which were covered in tears, trembled. She wanted to open her eyes and see if the moment was real, but she was too tired. She no longer had the strength. She shifted slightly and snuggled against the warmth. When Shen Shuang woke up again, it was already nighttime. She had actually slept for a whole day. The air conditioner in the room was still blowing cold air. She shivered from the cold. Subconsciously, she grabbed the kilt beside her and slid under it. A warm hand touched her smooth arm. Shen Shuang suddenly woke up. She looked up at the man in front of her. She blinked. Why did she sleep under Zhang Hong's kilt without wearing any clothes? Her brain, which was numb from the cold, finally regained some consciousness. Chapter 29. I didn't take advantage of you. Shen Shuang's face gradually turned red when she realized that she was leaning into the man's embrace. She was not in a hurry to climb out from under the blanket. Instead, she secretly sized up Zhang Hong. Her bright red lips trembled as she muttered softly, "Zhang Hong, I am not taking advantage of you. We're husband and wife. It's fine for us to sleep together. I didn't take advantage of you." In any case, the man lying on the bed could only surrender to whatever she wanted to do. Shen Shuang was the one who had the final say since she had such an obedient husband. "Your cousin almost violated me last night. He wanted to make me a cuckold. You're such a useless husband. How can you not defend me? Other wives have husbands who dot on them, but I don't. Do you think that you're safe if you don't open your eyes? Tomorrow, I'll dye your hair green and let you have green pastures on your head. If someone really does hurt me, will you despise me?" "Of course you will. We haven't even met, and we have no feelings for each other. When the time comes, you will definitely find a reason to divorce me and kick me out of the Zhang family. Zhang Hong, I didn't know that you were such an irresponsible man." As Shen Shuang spoke, she punched Zhang Hong's chest twice. She took a deep breath, then snorted coldly. It sounded like she wanted to push Zhang Hong away. Yet, no matter how angry she was, the man beside her would not move. Shen Shuang could not make him bulge either. She said indignantly, "I'm such a beautiful young woman. I'm right here in your arms. Won't you at least blink?" She did not care about how dangerous it was for her to stay in the man's arms. She used her hand to rub Zhang Hong's face hard. After it turned red, she laid in his arms with satisfaction and used one hand to support her chin. With her other hand, she rubbed his lips back and forth. "If you weren't sick last night, it wouldn't have been as hard as it was." Shen Shuang still felt the effects of the drug in her body. It was probably why Zhang Hong looked so irresistible to her now. She was a little disobedient and could not control herself. She pressed her lips to his again, and this time she felt like she was still drunk. When Shen Shuang finally went downstairs, she was starving. Lan Yibai saw her coming downstairs and stood up nervously. "Why did you drink so much? You haven't eaten for a day. You must be starving. Your face looks so haggard." Seeing Lan Yibai, Shen Shuang's heart warmed up a lot. "Actually, I didn't drink much. It's just that my alcohol tolerance isn't good. I drank a little and got so drunk. I'm sorry I worried you. Don't drink any more in the future if you can't handle it. There's no need for the Zhang family to push you like that. If the venue fails, there'll be another one. I hope that the Zhang family will have more opportunities than you think. Although Lan Yubai's words were comforting, she was also stating a fact. Sen Shuang's heart warmed up and she nodded with a smile. I got it, Mom. I won't do it in the future. Indeed, she would not do it again in the future. She would thoroughly beat the bastard, Zhang Tinghao, to death so that he would not even have the chance to get close to her. Lan Yubai saw that she was still exhausted and told her to go back to her room and rest after eating. She only needed to check on Zhang Hong. After seeing that her son was still lying in bed and all right, she felt relieved. Sen Shuang saw that Lan Yubai had left. After that, she locked herself in the room. Her gaze fell on Zhang Hong's face and she instantly blushed. She was not a simple-minded woman. Otherwise, why would she do an outrageous thing to a patient who could not do anything? She would not do anything outrageous. You are not allowed to tell anyone about what happened between us just now. Hurry up and forget about it. I'm not in love with you. I was just seduced by you. Even though she said that, when she looked at Zhang Hong's lips again, she still blushed. From a young age, Sen Shuang had always felt that she was naive and pure. At the very least, before she married Zhang Hong, she had never had an improper thoughts toward any man. However, she could not control herself with Zhang Hong and wanted to get close to him. She did not know why. Sen Shuang blinked. She cocked her head to one side and her expression was confused. She played with Zhang Hong's fingertips and kissed him on the cheek. He already felt familiar to her. She hugged Zhang Hong's arm and said, Was I too honest just now? Good thing you're going to forget it, right? Sen Shuang wanted him to forget, but she also didn't want him to forget. Sen Shuang was only conflicted for a second. Perhaps she had slept too much today, so she did not feel sleepy right now. She could not help but take out her phone and lean on Zhang Hong's shoulder. She took photos of the two of them. I used to think I was pretty. Why are you even prettier than me? Do you think I look good like this? It's a pity that I didn't have the chance to take wedding photos with you. Your mother said that you used to have a bad temper. Would you hit someone? Hitting women is very ungentlemanly, and men who hit their wives are even more useless. You're not like that, right? I'm so lonely that you're the only one I can talk to now. Chapter 30. Sen Shuang's Misfortune. Sen Shuang hugged Zhang Hong's arm and snuggled next to him. They looked like an ordinary couple. Sen Shuang could not fall asleep, so she began to chat with the man beside her, telling him everything about herself. She talked until her eyelids became heavy. She could not help but turn around and fall asleep in the man's arms. Sen Shuang dreamed again that she was locked in a warm embrace. She could not feel how cold the outside world was, and she felt a dull pain. Zhang Hong's arms were pressed against her chest, and she was hugging him tightly. In the past, if she woke up like this, she would probably have screamed and broken this man's arm. Now, Sen Shuang smoothed down her hair. She had not combed it for 2 days. She got out of bed and struggled to open her eyes. She saw a bright red mark on the bed sheet. She frowned and touched her stomach. Zhang Hong, I'm on my period. I have to go now. After saying that, she waved at him, then went to the bathroom. She had a husband who would not laugh at her. Sen Shuang had already begun to ignore Zhang Hong when she needed privacy. She did not need to conceal anything since Zhang Hong was like this. Sen Shuang came out of the bathroom, grabbed the stained bedsheet, and pulled it forcefully. Thud! There was a muffled sound. Zhang Hong, who had been on the bed, had rolled down with the bedsheet. Sen Shuang was stunned, and all her drowsiness was dispelled. She stared blankly at Zhang Hong, who was no longer in the bed. The next second, she threw down the bedsheet and ran over. Are you all right? I'm sorry. I was too careless. Are you in pain? Did you bump into anything? She knew that the person on the ground would not answer. When Sen Shuang picked Zhang Hong up, tears gathered in her eyes, and she felt her heart ache. She grabbed his hand, feeling sorry for him, and checked if he had suffered any additional injuries. Before this, she would only feel guilty. However, this time, apart from guilt, she felt something a little stronger. After making sure that he was not injured, Sen Shuang heaved a sigh of relief. She spread the bed sheets and carefully helped Zhang Hong back onto the bed. After everything was arranged, Sen Shuang sat on the bed and kissed his forehead. I won't let you get hurt again. I'll be careful. What happened to you? You were absent-minded during class. You missed your husband? After class, Sen Shuang was in a hurry to pack her thing. Mu Sen Sen, who was beside her, bumped into her and whispered the last sentence into her ear. I woke up late this morning and didn't have the time to sponge him. I'm afraid that he might be uncomfortable right now. Miss Sen, are you serious? You really miss your husband. Mu Sen Sen looked as if she had just choked on something. He's in a vegetable state, so why does it matter? My mother-in-law said that he used to like being clean. I'm just afraid that he'll feel weird. Sen Shuang packed her up her things. She had no classes in the afternoon, but she had to do some work for the art club before she could leave. Sen Shuang, you're amazing. Don't tell me you're in love with Zhang Hong. Mu Sen Sen thought Sen Shuang looked like she was in love. She could not help but cover her face in shock. This revelation was too much for her. Sen Shuang, are you crazy? Zhang Hong is a vegetable. How did you fall in love with him? So many young suitors were chasing after her. She used to be untouchable. Why did she start dating a vegetable? She doubted the school's beauty's taste in men. Sen Shuang's cell phone rang. She saw Yang Jinyan's name light up on the screen. Sen Shuang pursed her lips and declined the call. After picking up her thing, Sen Shuang said, About the art club meeting, please apply for a leave of absence for me. I'll be heading home first. As she watched Sen Shuang leave without a backward glance, Mu Sen Sen shook her head in disbelief. Dating a vegetable? That's too scary. In a black car outside the school gate of the park, the man took a look and smiled maliciously. He said to the woman in the back seat, Don't worry, our brothers are skilled. We'll pay whatever you want. It's absolutely fair. The woman in the car could not be seen clearly. Her features were concealed. Only her gloomy voice could be heard. I want this woman to lose her reputation and leave Lin City. Sen Shuang returned to the Zhang family's house. Lan Yubai was sitting in the living room watching her come in. She immediately asked, Have you met Yang Jinyan from Shen City? Lan Yubai was really not asking. She was certain. Sen Shuang felt a sense of panic. She grabbed the hem of her clothes and nodded. I've met him. That's good. I've shown him some of your artwork. He likes your designs very much and wants you to talk to him personally. She wanted her to meet Yang Jinyan. Sen Shuang admired her mother-in-law's boldness. She let her daughter-in-law meet her ex-boyfriend. Was she not afraid of what could be said about Zhang Hong? Sen Shuang clutched the document and subconsciously glanced at Zhang Hong. She thought about her impending meeting with Yang Jinyan. They were to have an in-depth discussion about work.